Welcome to the Overland Legend. Come and join us as we go on a trip back to paradise. This is part 2 of our amazing trip back to Paindane in Mozambique. If you missed part 1, then make sure you check it out. See the link on screen or in the description below. Sunrises over the Indian Ocean just never get old, especially when you can just sit there and take it all in. With spring tides coming in and the weather improving, it was a perfect day to spend at the beach. Driving on the beach in Mozambique is illegal, except for a few small designated areas, like this one on the Paindane Point. With the tide fully out, the reef provides a sheltered bay that is great for kids to swim in, and was perfect to try out the sup on the sea for the first time. It was great fun catching some of the little waves and learning to balance properly.
Getting some footage of you.
We were also able to have a really good snorkel and saw some amazing marine life. The highlight for me was the trumpetfish that I saw for the first time. It's a really odd looking fish and looks like it goes backwards because the tail looks like it has 2 eyes on the end of it, and they sort of hang upside down like a piece of seaweed with their heads facing down. That evening we saw the full moon rise, confirming that the next day was going to be the lowest tide of the week. And so we were back to the beach.
Would you hold me if I told you we can just run away? So come, my darling, let me help you. We can follow the sun and leave the rain for somebody else. Let's help ourselves, leave our trouble.
The tide was fully out, showing off the whole reef. It was a bit more windy today, so we stopped around the corner to avoid some of the worst wind. It was a Saturday and all the locals were out early to take advantage of the spring low tide and get their sea harvest. The women were out on the rocks, the kids in the shallows, and the men snorkeling and diving. I was really missing my kite, and with the wind picking up, we headed back home for a lazy afternoon. Earlier in the week, we had missed an opportunity to go on an ocean safari, so when we got a second chance on our last day, we all jumped at it. The plan was to go out on the boat for some snorkeling along the end of the Paindane reef, and then go out and look for whales and dolphins. 1, 2, 3, go. The visibility for the snorkeling was exceptional, and it was perfect to see some of the best coral reefs of all types and colors that you will see. Once back on the boat, it was time to find those migrating humpback whales that we had seen from the shore. It wasn't long before we found them. It was a very special experience seeing them closer from the boat and hearing them breathe and communicate.
Baby's coming straight to us now.
Many of them that we saw had calves with them. They were very cautious with us visitors and kept their distance, often disappearing as they dived deeper to safety.
Muito obrigado!
Before we knew it, the 10 days were over, and it was time to start the journey home via Giriyondo and Kruger Park. The nice thing about taking a different route home is that you are guaranteed to see something different again, making the journey so much more interesting. Our route took us back through Chockwe, where we stopped at an ATM With Mozambique elections coming up, I had noticed many party posters around, mostly for Frelimo, but in Chockwe we saw a small but vocal group of Renamo supporters parade down the main street. We were overnighting at Massingir safaris and had to pay attention to the badly potholed road as well as not miss the turnoff like we did last time. We had the whole camp to ourselves again and enjoyed a relaxing sunset and a tasty dinner around the campfire. The staff had fired up the donkey geezers early that morning, as we had an early start with a 10 to 12 hour drive ahead of us. Waking up one day on a tropical beach and then the next in the middle of the African bush is one of those privileges of living in Africa that will always remain special. The road from Massingir to Giriyondo is only about 70 kilometers long, but takes almost 2 hours, as it passes through the Limpopo National Park and is a combination of corrugated dirt and sandy tracks. The benefit of this route is arriving at a border post with no queues and friendly officials, and it makes all the difference. At this border you just need to hand back your TIP and get your passport stamped on the Mozambican and South African sides. Then at the Kruger Park office you need to pay for your entrance to the park. Crossing this border, you enter South Africa via the Kruger National Park. Then it's about 90 kilometers through the park to exit at Phalaborwa Gate. The grand prize, of course, is seeing what you can spot on the way through. This area seemed to be very dry and barren after what seemed like a widespread fire. But at the Malopenya waterhole, you can usually find some thirsty elephants. Crossing the Letaba bridge is also a great place to find some action, and we weren't disappointed. We saw this giant crocodile still busy eating something. One of the park visitors had told us that the croc had just caught a waterbuck further downstream and was still busy eating the last bits. It was a great sighting, with the smaller crocodile in tow. At Letaba rest camp, we stopped for refreshments and then carried on home, enjoying a few more sightings before leaving the park.
Very concerning with all your plans. Hello.
Is it better
Hello to
or worse
Dodge.
than that?
Good on you. Thank you.
And is that better or worse?
We decided to take the Magoebaskloof route towards Polokwane because it's just such a beautiful mountain pass and in great condition. It also allowed us to have some fun as we created our own Top Gear episode.
So Ewan said that this road is a very nice driving road, which makes it a perfect Top Gear road.
Yeah, I can just picture them doing a race up this road to see who gets here first. Okay, so we try and see who gets to the bottom first.
Basically, yes, but first we have to identify who the different characters are and their vehicle.
Can I ask, why must I do a trainer? And I ended up with a trainer.
Makes him James May.
Because who would tow a trailer with to a race? And that can only be James May. And therefore, Clarkson is in the fastest, newest vehicle, which is Johan.
I can definitely live with that.
And then, of course, we are the Land Rover drivers, and therefore we are Hammond.
Hamster at the back and Mr. Slow in the front.
Well, I really hope you enjoyed that video as much as we enjoyed the trip. And thank you so much for watching until the end. So after a long eventful day and a great holiday, we entered Gauteng with the sun setting and arrived home just after dark.